Hi everyone, April here. Welcome to my channel and welcome to my comic, trade, graphic novel wrap-up review for February 2018. I had an eclectic group of books this month and I'm really eager to share it, so let's get started. First up, we have Star Wars, DJ Most Wanted, issue number 1. This was written by Ben Acker and Ben Blacker and illustrated by Kevin Walker. DJ is a new character in the Star Wars universe. He was introduced in the Last Jedi film. He was one of my favorite characters because he's a morally gray type of person. He's a con man and a schemer, and he has no allegiance to either side in the war that is going on in the galaxy. So I am curious to see what he's all about and what he may contribute to the story in the future. This book is a prequel to the events in the movie. However, it's also a bit of a retread. It takes place entirely on Canto Bight, and DJ is doing what he normally does, running a con. However, you do get some internal dialogue from the character, so you hear kind of what he thinks about things that are going on and how he sees himself in the world or the galaxy. Other than that, there isn't really much to this. As for the illustrations, they're not terrible. It's just, I expected a little more from a Star Wars book with so much detail with that story. I don't know, maybe that's just me. So all in all, here you go. It's an okay book. I did like the story, even though it isn't very nuanced. I don't know what to think about it yet, really. I would probably need another book. It's an introductory book. I also feel that maybe Marvel or Disney is telling them don't give too much away because we have ideas of our own that we want to reveal in the movie. Either way, I like DJ as a character. I may pick up issue number 2. If it's more of the same, then I'll probably stop there. If it gets better, who knows? Next up, we have Doomsday Clock, issue number 3. This was written by Geoff Johns and illustrated by Gary Frank. And in a word, this issue was frustrating. It ends in several cliffhangers and you had to wait almost 2 months to get to the next issue. I think the next issue isn't going to be released until the end of March or the beginning of April, something like that. I have the patience of a toddler. However, what I can say about it is that overall the story is progressing. There's some interesting things going on. Just to retread a little bit, this is a Watchmen story where some of the Watchmen have come into the DCU looking for Dr. Manhattan. The only thing, well, 2 things I can say about this particular issue. One, we're issue number 3 and I'm having these feelings about Rorschach that kind of need to be addressed. It's still kind of new phone who dis. I'm gonna need more. They give you like some breadcrumbs here about his character, but I would like for them to beef that up. And second, the Mime and the Marionette, I think they're new to the Watchmen series and they're feeling a little like fan service. Now, don't get me wrong, considering where this seems to be going, they're headed in the direction of a very popular DCU villain. And I'm assuming that the meeting is going to be epic. All that being said, for a 12-issue series, I just don't want to get too distracted by something that doesn't really mean anything in the overall story. So there's a lot. There's a lot going on. There's a lot still need to happen. And I'm just, again, frustrated because I have to wait so long for this to kind of move on. And I think they're doing every other month now or something. I don't know about the releases, but that is just insane. Let me see if I can show you something that doesn't spoil this book. Can I show you this? Kinda. It is beautiful. Gary Frank is so good. But oh, here's something else. This was a nice crop of the story too. Like, it is a beautiful book. The story again is moving nicely. I'm just like, I need it now. I honestly need to start buying these singles and just wait for trade paperbacks. Next up, Batman Earth 1 Volume 2. Also written by Geoff Johns, also illustrated by Gary Frank. This is a 5-star read. 5 beautiful stars with a little vibranium sprinkled on the top just to give us some heat. This story was so good. The pacing, the action, the character development was just magnifique. This is what I want for this. So good. Oh, I don't know who I was more interested in, Bruce and Alfred, or oh my God, the Dents show up in here. They showed up in volume 1 too, but there's more development with the Dent characters, and ooh, it gets really nasty. And then I have to show you these illustrations. It's a bit of a spoiler, but you'll forgive me. But oh, look at this work. Gary Frank, oh, I just love this guy. Do you see the detail here? Look at Killer Croc's face. Look at his body. Look at the fighting stance here. Just gorgeous, gorgeous work. Should I show you a little more? Just a little more? I'll show you this. Drama! This book is amazing. If you're a Batman fan, you should love it. If you're not a Batman fan, you should pick it up because afterwards, you will become one. Honestly, when I was reading this, I kept thinking this is what the TV show Gotham should be like. Because even though this is Batman-centric, you have so much rich development with the secondary characters that it just feels more like a Gotham story. Everybody has their own little side story that kind of gives you more to the overall narrative. I don't know what to say about that show per se, but this book is so much better than that, and it is an absolute excellent read. I think we have like a full year before we get volume 3, which is very disappointing. Oh my God, these two just kill me. But I'm just gonna suck it up because I know when I get it, it's gonna be the bomb. Gosh, I love this. Earth 1, Volume 2. Pick it up, y'all. You missing out. That's hot. And going from awesome to awesome, you know what it is. Locke and Key, Volume 3. Crown of Shadows. Joe Hill, writer. Gabriel Rodriguez, illustrator. 100% perfection again. These two, Volume 3 was cooking with gas, y'all. People are tired. They want their stuff. The entity is called Dodge. Decided to put on its best, what do you call this? Angelina Jolie Maleficent cosplay and rain complete hell down on this family for a night. However, what is the saying? When you fail to plan, you plan to fail. He just wasn't ready because these kids rose to the occasion. Now, I have to say that Bode, the smallest one, the 6-year-old, is my favorite. But the two, Kenzie and Tyler, are the teenagers. They kind of been ebbing and flowing for me for characterization. Sometimes they're okay, and the other times I'm like, I'm so over it. But in this volume, I have to admit that they became much more relatable. It kind of touched into some things that I remember from my own little teenage drama, and I just could relate to them more, and they're dealing with so much, plus the angst of trying to grow up. Again, a well-crafted story. A lot goes on here. They find more keys. One key is just lit. I don't know. You know what the kids say these days? It was so good. I don't know if Dodge didn't know about this key, and I don't even know how the kids figured out how it worked, because when they first showed it, I was like, what does that do? But it saved the day, and it changed the game. I have volume number 4. I cannot wait to get to it. Oh, this is so good. Oh, and by the way, the other day, Joe Hill was on Twitter and he was talking about how happy he was with the production of his pilot for Locke and Key. It's gonna be on Hulu, y'all. Oh, that means possibly no commercials, possibly rated R, or at least adult subject matter. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I just hope it's good because you know his family history is not good with having their manuscripts or their books turned into movies or TV shows, but when they get it, they get it. And I'm so excited. I cannot wait to see that, but I gotta finish this first. So those are all the new books that I purchased. New in the sense that I purchased them brand new from a traditional comic book store. The rest I bought from my local used bookstore. I've gone to them for years and I knew they had a trade paperback and graphic novel section, and I've gone in there occasionally here and there, but I mostly use the store to kind of buy more novels because I buy a lot of books, and to buy them all new is cost prohibitive. So I went in there and I grabbed a lot of stuff this time, and honestly, it turned out really great. So first up, I have Stieg Larsson's The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest. They had this nice book cover on it. It was really nice. Any case, this was written by Denise Mina, or I should say adapted by, and illustrated by Andrea Muti and Antonio Fuso. Now, The Girl Who Kicks the Hornet's Nest is the third book in this Stieg Larsson series. I think most people know it by The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I think the second book is called The Girl Who Played with Fire. Now, I've read all three of these books and I'm a very big fan, and I've seen most of the Swedish films, and it is seriously adult subject matter, which was honestly one of the reasons why I picked it up, because I wanted to know, how do you turn a story like that into a graphic novel? They kind of treated it pretty much like a film would. They took what they could from the book in order to get a good storyline flowing. They took other parts for secondary character and storyline development, and where they kept the overall story and theme intact, they kind of suppressed some of the more provocative elements of the story. And I think they did a good job overall. For the subject matter, I gotta be careful because some of these images aren't safe for work. But they did a good job with interpreting the book. And I did like the artwork. It's very noir, which matches the theme of the story very well. Honestly, if you've read these books, let me be careful here. If you've read these books, I think this would be an interesting kind of experience for you. If you haven't read these books, and if you are of age, and you've been curious about the stories, this may be a nice kind of visual cliff notes, give you insight or a theme into what the books or the movies might be about. I enjoyed it. I really did. I thought Denise Mina did a very good job in adapting the story. I do plan on picking up the first and the second one, because the first one is the tricky one and I really want to see how she gets around that. So I guess it was just more of an exercise and curiosity to see how one deals with tricky subject matter. But it ended up with me actually having a very good reading experience. So there you go. And it was a really good price. I think it was only $5. Next up, we have Morning Glories Volume 1. It is written by Nick Spencer and illustrated by Joe Eisma. Oh, Nick Spencer is the same one who wrote the Secret Empire arc for Marvel last year, and I actually enjoyed that. So it did make me curious as to what kind of writer he might be if he wasn't pigeonholed by an existing narrative. And lo and behold, when I saw this in the store, I was like, okay, let's see what he can do. And at the end, I can honestly say that I think he and possibly Joe Eisma may be mentally unhinged. Let me read the blurb on the back. Morning Glory Academy, one of the most prestigious prep schools in the country. Behind its hallowed doors, something sinister and deadly lurks. When 6 brilliant but troubled new students arrive, they find themselves trapped and desperately seeking answers and escape from a place where nothing is what it seems to be. And that pretty much hits the nail square on the head here. These kids arrive at the school and they're not here a hot 6 hours before all hell breaks loose. People are dying, stuff is exploding, there are secret organizations that are being revealed. I mean, they don't get into the minutia of all that's going on here, but a lot happens in this first volume. And you're kind of left dazed, a little confused, and feeling somewhat trolled because of Joe Eisma. Now, like I said, a whole lot of crazy crap is happening, and yet this is what we're seeing. Do you see the artwork here? It is so bright and colorful and cheery and very, I don't know, it feels very pop. It feels very youthful and bright and energetic, and there is some really awful things happening in this narrative, and you're like, why is it so colorful? Why is it so pretty? When you think about it, the school itself is basically has this false front of being this prestigious, world-renowned institution, and behind its doors is basically an exercise in, I don't know, blood sport. I'm trying to describe this without giving too much of the plot away, but I would say that it's kind of a cross between Boys of Brazil and The Omen. And if you've read any of those stories, you kind of get where I'm going with this. It's either going to be some kind of Illuminati-esque deal where they're trying to bring back some satanic dude who probably shouldn't even be here, or it's some kind of crazy scientific experiment gone completely wrong. Either way, it was well told. It was a fun, crazy read. I did like the illustration, even though it was an odd juxtaposition as to what was actually happening in the story. But together, it really worked for me, and I do plan to continue to read these. Now, I didn't grab all of the issues they had at the store, so I don't know how often I'll be able to get to the next issue, but when I do, I will definitely be picking it up because this was interesting. It was fun, it was crazy. I love the way they kind of psyched me out, and I do want to find out what the heck is going on here because wow. Next up, I have Transmetropolitan, written by Warren Ellis and illustrated by Darick Robertson. This is about this guy, Spider Jerusalem. He's a journalist. He wrote a book that became wildly successful, and he decided to leave his city and his profession and take an early retirement. Unfortunately for him, he forgot to fulfill his contract to his publisher because he only wrote one book and he owes them 2 more. So he has to leave the comforts of his mountain home and come back to the city. He burned through all of his cash, so he has to get a job, and he gets one as a journalist. The city is pretty rough. A lot is going on. It is the seat of everything, it seems to be, because they only call it the city. They don't actually name it, so I don't know if all of civilization is culminated in this one place or not. But what's going down here feels like anything that we could see in the news at any given moment. There is the fight for personhood, police brutality, government overreach, commercialization of religion, oh, the evils of capitalism. This book is 20 years old, and yet it reads as if it was written maybe last week. That is the beauty of good writing. It is timeless, it is relevant even to our detriment. And it's told very well. Warren Ellis is kind of known for this kind of writing, very edgy, in your face, funny, grimy. Oh, this is not safe for work, let me make sure. Some of the illustrations here by Darick Roberts, it goes hand in hand. It's very well done. It's dark, it's moody, it's dirty, it's provocative. It can be offensive at times. It's just really well written. This type of material is something I'm always interested in. I do love when people are able to kind of write something that holds up over time, and that if you pick this up another 20 years from now, it'll probably still be as entertaining as and informative as it was 20 years ago. Again, that's a pretty sad statement to make, but this is him going to a religious convention. Yeah, he's a troll, but it's a really good story. It's really well written. This is volume 1. I do plan on picking up more of these, but again, and honestly, the condition of this book is amazing for something. I think this was only like $7. Yeah, so wonderful condition, really great story. Warren Ellis, Darick Robertson, introduction by Garth Ennis from Preacher fame. So that tells you how this is going to go. Really good. I enjoyed that. And lastly, we have Fairest, Wide Awake, Volume 1, written by Bill Willingham and illustrated by Phil Jimenez. Fairest is a spin-off series from the wildly successful Fable series. I have not read any of those books, and I do intend to at some point. But I saw this at the store, and it was issue 1 of volume 1, and it was in such good condition that I just picked it up. This deals with Briar Rose here, aka Sleeping Beauty, and this is not her traditional story. This is more epic fantasy than her traditional fairy tale story that we all come to know. It does play a part in the narrative, to be sure, but that's not what this is about. She has fallen asleep and she needs a prince to wake her up, and the prince who wakes her up is Alibaba, Prince of Thieves. So that's another kind of fairy tale or folklore tale that has been brought into the narrative. And then there's a third character, the Snow Queen, and her story is also brought into the narrative, but it's kind of turned on its axis because she's there for an entirely different reason that I had no idea existed. That must be part of the Fabletown storyline because I've never heard of it before. But I found this very interesting. I thought it was fun. I like epic fantasy, so if you read things like Leigh Bardugo or Sarah J Maas, you would definitely find this fun to read. And also, I don't want to show that. I mean, and I love the illustrations. I think they did a wonderful job with, one of my favorite characters in this book is the Snow Queen. And I love these two pictures because they show a duality of her character. She has, I believe, one of the greatest story arc growths in this entire volume. And I'm trying not to give too much away, but a lot goes down here, and it was just a whole lot of fun. I really enjoyed this, and I am definitely interested in reading more. I think there are only 6 in the Fairest series and of these volumes, but when it comes to fables, I don't know how many there are. I think I've seen up to 20, but it could go as far as 50. I know it's over, and I know they're binding them into larger hardback volumes, which I do plan to look into, but they might be cost prohibitive, so I don't know. But yeah, after reading this, I'm even more eager to read Fables now, because this was really good. The illustrations really did kind of heighten the whole experience, but the story really flowed well. I thought it was well paced, and considering the merging of several existing fairy tales and fables, he did a really good job in creating something fresh and new. So I enjoyed this a lot. So that's it. I made it. That was a long one, but I read a lot of great things this month, and I really wanted to share with you guys. So have you read any of these? And if so, tell me what your thoughts are. I started a couple of new series here, so if you've read further along into them, let me know. Also, if you haven't read any of these, have any of these inspired you to possibly pick up some graphic novels? I know some people who watch this channel aren't really graphic novel readers, but I think the selection this month had a nice broad range to it. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate the support. And if you are interested in seeing more videos like this, thinking about subscribing. You might find something you really find interesting. And again, I really appreciate you guys watching. I hope to see you next time. Have a good one. Bye.